So, as you all know, Congress recently passed a bill that allows internet service providers like Comcast, Verizon, and AT&T to sell your online browsing history without your consent. Now, this bill passed both houses of Congress along party lines and it went to Donald Trump's desk. So it was really up to him. He had the final say. Was he going to veto this piece of legislation that sells out the American people, or would he sign it? Can you guess what he did? He signed this bill immediately, and anticipating backlash, he tried to do it quietly so that way we wouldn't know that he signed this bill. Recode explains President Donald Trump on Monday officially hit the delete button on federal privacy protections imposed last year on the likes of AT&T, Charter, Comcast, and Verizon. Trump quietly signed into law a bill that blocks the implementation of rules that would have required those internet providers to ask permission before selling sensitive customer data like web browsing histories to advertisers and other third parties, the White House confirmed. So I find it funny that Donald Trump quietly signed this piece of legislation into law because he tends to make a spectacle out of everything, even if it is controversial. I mean, when he signed a bill that moved forward the construction of the Dakota Access Pipeline, he tried to make a huge spectacle of it. He filmed himself. He talked about how this would be great for business. But for this, I mean, there's no way you can sell this to the American people, and he knows that even his own supporters, people who read Breitbart News, would be pissed off about this. So what he did was try to sign it quietly. Unbelievable. So guess what, Donald Trump? This also affects you because just like us, you're an American citizen that's vulnerable. So what we're going to do now is use this law against you and your colleagues in Congress who are all sellouts to the broadband industry. We will be buying your personal history now and publishing it online, because if you think that we're going to be the only ones affected by this, you've thought wrong. And here's the thing about this. If you don't like policies, if you disagree with private companies, what we typically have the option of doing is protesting with our dollars. We cancel our accounts and we take our business elsewhere, but we can't do that when it comes to broadband, because if you have Comcast and you don't like the fact that Comcast will be selling out your private information, like your browsing history, like your social security number even, well, what are you going to do? Nothing, because you cannot go to anyone else because they are typically the only provider. I mean, it doesn't matter where you live in the country. You usually have one or two options for internet. You have no choice, so you are forced to suck it up and deal with these broadband companies taking advantage of you because they have a monopoly. You have one option. Now, another component of the story that I really want to highlight is the fact that this is a huge story. I mean, the entire internet is up in arms. Even Trump supporters, credit where credit is due, they're calling him out on this. But what I find interesting is that mainstream media outlets like CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, they're completely silent on this. So I looked online. I couldn't find really anything from CNN, any segments of them discussing this. I couldn't find anything from Fox News discussing this. I mean, the point is that you can find online publications like the Washington Post talking about this, but if you are someone who only consumes media, only consumes news from the big three, well, you're not going to be very concerned about this. Now, the only mainstream media clip I found was from Rachel Maddow, who included this in a clip. So, I mean, credit where credit is due. I've been incredibly disappointed with Rachel Maddow, and I think that's an understatement. But she actually talked about this and educated her viewers about why this is harmful. Now, she's doing it because she's motivated by any opportunity she gets to attack Donald Trump and not be objective. But regardless, this is something that you have to talk about. And I mean, for me, as a small news channel, we dedicated 2 segments to this story last week because this is incredibly important. This is our personal information. And for a party like the Republicans who cares about individual liberty and privacy, or who at least purports to care about those things, they sold us out. I mean, Clay Higgins, again, I want to send a special shout out to Clay. Buddy, you sold us out for $300. So if we gave you $400, would you reverse that decision? I mean, I want to know the extent to which you are willing to be a puppet for anyone who bankrolls your campaign, because it's just ridiculous. So, I mean, at the end of the day, this is an abomination, and the media should be educating us about this, but they don't want to talk about this. Why? Because if they called out Verizon, AT&T, and Comcast, then Verizon, AT&T, and Comcast might not want to advertise on Fox News or CNN or MSNBC. So, this might be the most, the shittiest week in terms of news, because we just got hit with gut punch after gut punch, and I don't know how much more of this the American people can take. I'm getting sick of this shit. I know you're getting sick of this shit if you're watching this, if you're on the left or the right. I'm tired of them selling us out. I'm tired of it. What's it going to take for them to actually listen to us and do what we want and not do what multinational corporations and billionaires want or broadband providers want?